The year is 2008. The air in the Beijing National Aquatic Center, the water cube, it's just electric, thick with humidity and this incredible sense of anticipation. And down on the blocks, you've got Michael Phelps, the undisputed king of swimming. He's about to compete in the 200-meter butterfly final. Now, this isn't just another race. No way. This is a make-or-break moment in his quest for a historic 8 gold medals. Everything he's ever worked for, every 5 a.m. practice, every single meal planned out, every party he skipped, it's all coming down to this 1 2-minute performance.
The pressure in that building was something else. You can almost feel it. And you see, it wasn't just about winning one more gold. Phelps was chasing the ghost of Mark Spitz, trying to finally beat his legendary 7 gold medal record from 1972. The whole world is watching, and they're not just hoping for a win, they're expecting perfection. And this race, the 200 fly, this was his kingdom. It was his signature event, the one he was supposed to dominate. It was the linchpin for that whole 8 gold dream. But as any athlete will tell you, in an Olympic final, there are no guarantees. The weight of history is a heavy, heavy thing to carry with you into the water.
He dives in, the start is absolutely perfect. The first 50 meters, flawless. But as he comes up for a breath after that first turn, something's wrong. A little trickle of water seeps into his right goggle. He tries to ignore it, just push through, but with every stroke that trickle becomes a stream and then a flood. By the 100-meter mark, his vision is just a blurry mess. By 150 meters, it's gone. He is swimming in total darkness, basically in a sensory deprivation tank in the middle of the Olympic final. He can't see the black line on the bottom of the pool, he can't see his competitors, and, this is the real kicker, he can't see the wall. He is completely blind in the most important race of his life. Now, for 99.9% of athletes, this is it. This is the moment panic takes over, the moment the dream just dies. But what's so incredible is what didn't happen. There was no flailing, no hesitation. Instead of his conscious mind completely freaking out, a deeper, more powerful system just took over. A weird sense of calm washed over him as he realized, I've done this before. His body, through hundreds of thousands of repetitions, had automated the race so completely that his eyes were almost irrelevant. He switched from seeing to feeling and then to counting. He started counting his strokes, this internal metronome that he had perfected over years of obsessive practice. He just knew, from muscle memory, that it took him exactly 19 strokes to get from one wall to the next. He executed the turn perfectly, sight unseen, like a machine performing its programming. He surges through that final lap, still counting, still completely blind. He throws his arm forward for the final touch. He rips the goggles off his face, squints at the bright lights, and he turns to look at the scoreboard. And next to his name are 2 letters. WR, world record. He didn't just win the gold medal, he had swum the fastest 200-meter butterfly in human history, blind. This performance wasn't a miracle. It wasn't luck. It was the inevitable result of a system that was meticulously engineered. It was proof that something incredible was going on under the surface. So the real question isn't just how he did it. The real question is, what kind of system can turn a total disaster into a history-making triumph?
That seemingly superhuman feat? Yeah, that was no accident. It was the product of a philosophy, a protocol, that was forged years earlier in the fires of a personal challenge. To really understand the man who could win a race blind, we have to go back to the kid who couldn't sit still.
You see, as a child, Michael Phelps was just a whirlwind of motion. In school, his teachers said he was unable to sit still. He was constantly fidgeting. He was diagnosed with ADHD. He was just this bundle of chaotic, unfocused energy that was a real challenge. His mom, Debbie, was trying to find an outlet for all that energy, a place where it could be a gift instead of a problem. So she put him and his sisters in the pool. And in the water, something kind of magical happened. All the chaos of the outside world just disappeared, and it was replaced by this rigid, repetitive, systematic universe of swimming. The black line on the bottom of the pool, the rhythm of his strokes, the walls at either end, it gave his boundless energy a structure, a direction, and a purpose. And this is the perfect way to look at the transformation. He didn't just manage his ADHD. He learned how to weaponize it. Think about it. The core of his condition was this relentless, restless energy. In a classroom, that's a problem. But in a sport that demands thousands of hours of repetitive training, that same restlessness becomes a superpower. It's the ability to find comfort in monotony, to actually crave the physical work that burns off all that extra energy. He learned how to channel that chaotic tornado of his into a finely tuned engine, a predictable, mechanical, and frankly, unstoppable force.
This became the key insight that unlocked everything for him. We love this idea of the natural talent, the prodigy who wins because it's effortless. Well, Phelps realized early on that that was a total myth. For him, victory wasn't going to come from some flash of inspiration. No, it would be forged in something way less glamorous, the sheer, dull, brutal force of repetition. The goal wasn't just to practice a skill, it was to practice it so much, with such overwhelming volume, that his body had no choice but to automate excellence, to make the perfect stroke as unconscious as a heartbeat.
So this insight, it grew into a conscious, radical philosophy. He and his coach, Bob Bowman, they started to treat his body not just like an athlete's, but like a machine that could be programmed for flawless execution. And this system, this is what would become known as the Phelps Protocol. So what is the Phelps Protocol really? At its core, its mission is to make peak performance an unconscious reflex. The whole system is built on this one kind of counterintuitive idea. In any high-stakes situation, your weakest link isn't your body. It's your conscious thinking mind. The mind hesitates, the mind doubts, the mind panics. So the protocol was designed to just bypass that weak link entirely. The goal was to train the body to a point where, when the pressure is at its absolute highest, you don't have time to think, you just react. Your body just knows what to do because it's done it a million times before.
Okay, so let's dive into this. The protocol is built on 3 foundational pillars, and each one is designed to systematically condition his mind and body for that automaticity. Let's break them down.
This first pillar is the most physically demanding, and honestly, it's the engine of the entire system. Its goal is simple and just brutal: to make the correct swimming technique a permanent, irreversible instinct through sheer, overwhelming volume.
80,000 meters a week. Let that number really sink in for a second. That is nearly 50 miles. That's like swimming across the English Channel from Dover to Calais and then turning around and swimming almost all the way back. Every single week. And this wasn't just about cardio or getting fit. No, it was about something much deeper. This massive, relentless volume was designed to physically carve the perfect movements into his nervous system, to burn those neurological pathways so deep that the perfect butterfly stroke became as automatic and unconscious as breathing.
Okay, so if the first pillar was about building the hardware, the perfectly conditioned body, then this second pillar was all about programming the software. This pillar is all about preparing for chaos, for absolutely everything and anything that could possibly go wrong.
This is where the genius of the system really shines. Phelps and his coach, Bob Bowman, they became masters of what they called contingency planning. They would sit down and systematically game out every negative scenario you could possibly imagine. What if your suit rips right before a race? Okay, plan. Have a backup, know how to change fast. What if you have a false start? Plan. Have a mental routine to reset immediately. What if a competitor surges unexpectedly in the last 50 meters? Plan. Stick to your own race, trust your training. And yes, a scenario they specifically planned for: what if your goggles fill with water and you go blind? Plan. Switch to stroke count immediately. So when his goggles failed in Beijing, he wasn't panicking, he wasn't improvising, he was just executing a pre-programmed response. He was running the code for goggle failure.
All right, this third and final pillar ties everything together. It took all that physical conditioning and strategic planning and then reinforced it neurologically without him ever even getting in the water. This was the mental side of the machine.
He called it watching the videotape. Every single night before he went to sleep, and every morning the moment he woke up, Phelps would lie in bed and run this high-definition mental movie of the perfect race. He'd visualize every single tiny detail: the feel of the water, the sound of the crowd, the exact angle of his hand entry, the explosive power of his turns, that final lunge for the wall. Now, this wasn't just daydreaming. Neuroscience tells us that the brain often can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined event and a real one. So by doing this, he was systematically strengthening the exact same neural pathways he would use in a physical race. He was basically getting in extra practice, programming his brain for success, even while he was just lying in bed.
So here's the crucial point. How do you actually do it? I mean, a philosophy is one thing, but turning such an extreme idea into a daily reality, that requires an almost inhuman level of discipline, enforced by some very concrete, non-negotiable habits.
This is probably the most radical and controversial part of the whole system, and it just flies in the face of conventional athletic wisdom. For a period of 5 straight years leading up to the 2008 Olympics, Michael Phelps did not take a single day off. He trained 365 days a year. The logic, according to his coach, was that a day off wasn't rest, it was a disruption. It was a 24-hour period where those painstakingly built neurological pathways could actually start to weaken. Continuous, unbroken reinforcement was the only way to make sure his body's programming never ever had a chance to degrade.
And he was dead serious about this. While his family was opening presents on Christmas morning, he was in the pool. While his friends were celebrating his birthday, he was in the pool. This relentless, almost fanatical consistency wasn't about being a martyr, it was the practical, daily application of his core philosophy. It was the only way to ensure that the process of turning his body into a perfect swimming machine never stopped.
And this systematic approach, it extended to the smallest details. During the Olympics, he might have to swim a semifinal and a final for different events on the same night. Energy is the most precious thing you have, so he developed this hyper-efficient warm-down routine. While other swimmers might spend 15 or 20 minutes warming down, Phelps would do a quick 2 laps, a few specific recovery strokes, and get out. The goal was maximum energy conservation. Every single drop of physical and mental energy was a resource to be managed with the precision of an accountant. Nothing was wasted.
Well, the results of this all-encompassing system, they really speak for themselves. The protocol didn't just create a great swimmer, it created a new archetype for what was possible in sports, transforming the man and his entire field along with him.
The final tally is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around it. 28 Olympic medals, 23 of them gold. To put that into perspective, if Michael Phelps were his own country, he would rank 39th on the all-time summer Olympic medal table. He has more gold medals than 160 entire nations. I mean, he didn't just break records, he obliterated them, becoming the most decorated Olympian in the history of the world. It was the ultimate, undeniable proof that the system worked.
It really is the ultimate transformation. The boy who couldn't focus in a classroom, the kid's energy was seen as a problem to be managed, used a systematic approach to turn that perceived weakness into his greatest strength. He became a global symbol not just of athletic greatness, but of what's possible when dedication and discipline are applied with machine-like consistency.
And this right here, it illustrates the core argument of his entire career. Phelps proved that while raw talent is a gift, it's also unreliable. It can fail you under pressure. But a systematically engineered process, that's different. That's an advantage you build, brick by boring brick, and it is designed specifically to overcome circumstance, like, say, a pair of faulty goggles in the biggest race of your life.
His long-term impact is just undeniable. The Phelps Protocol effectively changed the game. The ideas of high-volume training to the point of irreversibility and systematic mental rehearsal are now standard practice in elite athletic programs all over the world. He didn't just play the game, he wrote the new rulebook.
So what does all this mean for the rest of us? The story is incredible, sure, but its real power is in the universal lesson it contains. Because while very few of us are training for the Olympics, the core principle behind the Phelps Protocol, this idea of building an instinct cheat code, can be applied to absolutely any skill we want to master. We have this really romantic idea of instinct, don't we? We think of it as something mystical or magical, a gut feeling that we're just born with. But the profound lesson from Michael Phelps's career is that instinct isn't magic. It's math. It's simply the end result of countless automated calculations, tiny adjustments, muscle movements, and decisions that have been performed and refined so many thousands of times that they become instantaneous and unconscious. True instinct isn't a gift, it's earned.
So, what's the final takeaway here? Well, it's pretty simple. First, understand the true mastery in any field isn't about knowing more. It's about needing to think less when the pressure's on. It's about automating excellence. And second, commit to your own version of that volume of irreversibility mandate. It doesn't matter if you're a programmer learning a new language, a musician practicing scales, or a public speaker rehearsing a talk, the path is the same. You have to practice the core actions of your craft with such overwhelming monotonous volume that they become second nature, an irreversible unconscious instinct.
Ultimately, Michael Phelps built his entire dominance on the profound truth that instinct is just automated calculation. The Phelps Protocol provided the blueprint, proving that you can make the impossible become normal through the relentless, dull force of repetition. Because in the end, in any field, under any kind of pressure, instinctual execution is the ultimate cheat code for success.